Welcome everybody, my name is Bobbie Richardson. I am a seer, a channeler, psychic. I do intuitive counselling and help guide others to connect to their soul and bring them back into balance. I have had a lot of premonition dreams, taken to future earths, had a lot of visitations throughout my whole life from different beings. When I say seer, I'm not talking about just in my mind, I'm talking about outside myself. That happened from the ages of about 5 to about 50, and the last 4 or 5 years I've been channeling majorly. So you can see me on the Kevin Moore show. I've done interviews with Mary Rodwell and different people, and now I'm here to help guide others through my own experience. So this message is going to be specifically on my own experiences, how I came from a victimized personality, someone who was always looking outside themselves to need help, need guidance ever since I was a child. Pretty much couldn't do anything without my mum's approval. Like, I couldn't even pick my own clothes out. Had to ask her what she thought was the best. I was a people pleaser, wanted to please everybody. Never felt I was worthy enough, never felt I was good enough to be myself. And every time I tried, because I was very intuitive and very empathic and could sense things beyond what others thought was reality, I was seen as pretty much crazy. So I have a lot of Virgo in my chart, and I think about 5 signs of Virgo. And I really find that my perfectionism in life is a control mechanism for me to be able to live in this reality. But underneath all that, I'm a very creative, exploratory, love having fun with the world, adventures and all sorts of things. But because I was a people pleaser and because I could feel everything that everyone was thinking almost, it drove me into an inner lack of self-worth, because my parents and their ability to be able to handle this, move through this world, was very conditioned by the program. So what happened with me was I was born in a family that didn't have a lot of physical touch at all, actually none, pretty much, from one of my parents, and the other parent, would try to have fun but still kept his boundaries, and that was because of a situation that had happened in the past. So with that, I had to learn what love was, and physically, emotionally, it was a very trying time, and I ended up because I was a people pleaser and wanted to please everybody, ended up in a lot of narcissistical relationships, people that would pretend they were one thing but thinking another, and I knew it because I could feel it off them, but I thought that was the only way that people could live in this reality anyway, so didn't think there would be anything better out there for me in this world. So I kept condemning myself to going through one relationship after another, and in narcissism and control mechanisms, and making myself feel small, that I wasn't worthy to be able to bring in any money. I had to rely on them, and by the end of it ended up in a highly toxic relationship, and that woke me up. That was the key point. It was like I had to get to the lowest and pour my heart completely out in this relationship, do my 100% best, and recognize that it was nothing to do with me giving and pleasing others. I tried it all my life and it never worked. It was all to do with me learning to take responsibility and loving who I was from inside out. And I couldn't get to that point unless I had the lowest point in my reality, and that's when everything came unstuck for me. Massive tower moment. Somebody that I poured everything into this person, that I saw them. I was woken up by my guides to him was cheating on me, and then because I called him out and he was a narcissist, he couldn't handle that, so he bet me up and told me I was making all this up. So broken rib, fourth vertebrae issue after that, and I had to leave very quickly. I had nowhere to go. I had 2 children. I've brought up all my children, my babies, by myself pretty much. I've had 3 girls all up, and a lot of struggle, a lot of hardship. And not knowing this is kind of like therapy, right? And not knowing where I was going to end up with my 2 girls. But somehow or other, I was always... It wasn't until I decided, no, I'm not going to go down that path anymore. I'm not going to be around those people anymore. I am going to trust, because I actually had an opportunity to be around that sort of energy again after I left this person very quickly, and I was in dire straits. I needed a place to live, and the energy that I was going to move into was exactly the same energy, and I just drove off going, I can't do this anymore. You'll have to give me better. I have to get better. I deserve better. And when I said that, then I ended up in a beautiful unit just opposite my children's school, so they could walk to school and we could carry on our lives. Now, then it took me a few months to gather myself, because I had to do what I could for my children and keep myself together, still work, plus move home very fast, and that's happened a few times in my life, and it just keeps happening to me. So there's a moment in your life where you just go, I need to change something. And you can't look outside yourself for that change, because whenever you do, you are only met by the same frequency that you are looking through. So inner work is vital for everybody, and this is what the whole world is going through at the moment. Literal lockdown is gifting us an opportunity to go within ourselves and seek higher counseling from our soul, from our intuition, from learning to use our imagination to create the path that we want to create. All those things that we have never discussed, that we have never brought up in schools. It's an inner look at how you feel about who you are. It's a very vulnerable time, and it's a very it can be a lonely time too, something you have to do on your own. So I took quite a few months, I took pretty much 1.5 years out all up, and after a few months of gathering myself, I then brought in the energies. And I'm telling you this so that you can get an understanding of how I shifted myself. So I literally brought in the energies of those that had done what I felt had done me harm. in my past. All my exes, all the relationships that weren't very good, I brought them in, the ones that I felt was necessary to give me a better understanding of myself and why I chose those people, because I did choose those people. We all have choice in the end, right? And I started to speak to them from two different levels. So there was a level of consciousness that was tied to my soul and an understanding of why I went through the relationship with the person, so that I could learn to be more assertive, support myself. So my ex-husband was all about learning to be more assertive. The last one was learning to support who I was 100% and stand by me, trust my intuition. And at the same time, I decided to go live because I realized I was not trusting my intuition. My intuition was spot on. But every time I got a message from it, I would go, I understand that, but we'll just stay in the relationship and keep it going, even though he is thinking those things about me and I can feel it off him. He's not speaking it, but he's thinking that I'll still stay in the relationship and I'll still play this game, see if I can help him with giving him as much love and people pleasing him again. So it kept me in that loop of being stuck in the self-sabotage place, just constantly giving and never learning to receive. He wasn't someone who would give without something in return anyway, so none of my exes were. They were all very much give to me, and that was the energy of me. I was like, yeah, I'll give to you. So there was a higher level of consciousness that I had with myself when I put them at the end. I literally saw them at the end of my bed and just sat there and went, right, from a higher level, I can see where my lesson is, my journey is, and I could also see their journey and their lesson as well. I could literally see how they could heal themselves through what they had gone through as well by being with me. So that's a higher consciousness level. And then I would bring myself back to myself as I am, Bobbie in this body, living this life, only knowing what I know through the logical sense of the story that's evolved, and that's the lower sort of grounded part of myself. And I faced him off on the end of my bed and started to blurt out everything that I thought I didn't like about him, or I didn't like about myself, and then I turned it back into, well, I didn't like that about myself. And so I kept switching it up to myself, and until I realized all the control, all of the power that I'd gifted away. I kept giving all my power away to everybody else because I felt like I never fitted in being authentically me, because I was more powerful than that I was in reflection of. And in other words, those people were very much in lack of themselves. And so and because I was not taking my power back, it was a reflection of that lack that I had within me. But when I took it back as the power and said, no, I'm no longer giving it to you, and I literally saw myself chopping away everything like you chop the cords, but then I saw all my power coming back to me. So that's another thing that I did. I saw them in two levels. One level, higher consciousness, understanding that. Second level, groundedness, what he actually did to me, how much he actually hurt me, what that really did, how that did affect me, honoring myself in that moment of how that happened. Then I chopped all the cords, and then I imagined all my power that I was giving out to everyone coming back. And I started to include people in my family, my mother, my father, my sisters, my brothers. And then when I brought my power back to me and realized how powerful I was, then I started to send out, oh my God, I love them so much. I love them so much for helping me on this journey and everything that they've taught me. And that was coming from myself giving, but also the fact that I need to have set boundaries. And every time someone would say something to me that wasn't conducive with who I know I am, I would be speaking up for myself from then on. So if my father would say something that wasn't conducive to who I am, and I know the power of who I am, then I will say something straight away to him. If my sister did, straight away to him. I would not allow somebody else to come into my reality, dictate how weak I was, and use me anymore. It was never going to happen. So that was a big thing. That took quite a few months, and I went back and forth with that. So don't just expect one session with yourself and that's all over, Red Rover. Then what happened was the universe brought me in another man, and this man was a victim to himself again. And I then looked at that, and I could see where I could put up with again. And I started realizing, oh my gosh, I'm putting up with far too much again. I could see where I went wrong quicker. So instead of it being years, it was just a month. And then I stood in the power of myself and said, to support her, I know who I am and I'm supporting myself. From this point on, this needs to stop. Any sort of anger or any sort of, even though it wasn't towards me, it was towards others, any sort of disharmony that they were bringing in has to stop. And I hope that they come up and want to be healed, but if they don't, they need to move on. And that's precisely what happened the very next week. This person moved on, and it was hard. And you know, in my lower self, in honoring who I am in this body, I still mourned for that because I had started to become attached to that person. So you mourn through it and you allow that process to happen, but also knowing from a higher perspective, I'm now learning to honor myself. Then the next person who came in literally told me I was not a pretty person. So then I started to realize he was teaching me to honor my body and respect who I am as a person, and to honor and love how beautiful I am, because I'd never allowed that in my life either. I always saw myself as a very ordinary, not so pretty person. Even though the weird thing was I did modeling in my 20s, I still thought even then I wasn't that pretty. It was an unusual experience of seeing some sort of outer reflection saying that you are, but still on the inner I'm going, I'm not. And so I recognized that it was nothing to do with being pretty anymore. It was to do with honoring my body. My body has walked me 1,000,000 miles through this life and never complained, and I have never supported it. I've never loved my feet. I've never said to my feet, thank you for walking all those miles. My hands, I've drawn much art, and never ever thanked them. I never honored any part of my body, and I just kept getting down on it whenever something went wrong. Yeah, I would blow that up in my mind, and yet I would never see the beauty that I was from within, and how my body just carried my soul, and how gorgeous that is in itself, especially through all of those energies, all of the things that I've gone through, and respecting it. So that next person, when he left and left me feeling absolutely gutted, like anyone would if they were told that they didn't want to be with them because they weren't pretty enough, that gutted me so much. But then I wanted to clear that issue, so that whenever someone came in, I love who I am, so I would never allow someone in that was going to reflect me being ugly again. I was only going to allow someone coming in that reflected me as being a beautiful person, because I needed to learn to respect and honor who I was. So this is what I mean by turning everything around. And the universe didn't just simply give me, straight after I did the work with the last ex that I had split up, the last narcissistical relationship that I split up with, it waited and it gave me these threads of different people. Are you ready? Are you ready? During this, I was focusing in on more of my work, more of what I really wanted to do, ignoring what voices I had in my head of what my father would tell me, that that I would be picked on if I did any of this sort of stuff, that I wouldn't be seen as someone that would fit in with society if I followed through in what my soul work was, what my mission was. So I just pushed through all of that, and I started to just work on everything that I loved. I still have had a offshoot job because it was bringing in some money, and that was, so that just kept rolling. A very humbling job, to tell you the truth. I was still doing my intuitive counselling, started that up, doing all the lives, started them up, creating the fortune dice, just kept plugging away at what I knew was my soul's calling and who I am authentically. And even though I still had the odd backlash coming in, every time that happened, I kept on supporting myself with that. So then there came a point where I just went, I think it's time I was on a dating site, but it was like one of those dating sites that not many people go on. And I knew the dating site that would bring in a lot of people, and I not touched it. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm dating, but really I wasn't. And then I just went, that's it. I think I need to, at least I'll trick my mind into saying I'm going to practice and go on that big dating site where I knew I was going to get some sort of traction with meeting people and experience dating again. This is a year and a half after I'd broken up. So I put my name down and I met a beautiful man, and first up, and he is the absolute opposite of what I have gone through. He's a very strong-willed powerhouse in himself, but very nurturing, biggest heart, and we laugh all the time. There is no fights. There's no hoo-ha. We speak so easily together. He is absolutely a soulmate. He had a dream of me telling him that to wait, that I would find him, and I just know that this is the man that this is a soulmate. This is a higher consciousness soulmate. And we knew pretty much early on. It didn't matter about externals. Like you have all these lists, tick lists, when you go on a dating site. All those tick lists just went out the window because it was a knowing. It was absolute. And we've been now together for over 3 months, and it's still just becoming stronger. It's even more fun, and now we're looking at buying a house. So we're really, he's just a very genuine person. I'm putting out to the universe that I put just as much into the home as he does, so that we come into this relationship and union with similar energy, but whether it be through my money or whether it be through helping guide him, it's gonna be a union that's is a union that is just through love and not through codependency or leaning on somebody to give you the love. It was more coming, I love myself enough now to see why someone else would love me this much, and that made a big huge difference. So now I am not only becoming bigger within my talks, going through Kevin Moore's show, so that's happened as well, and my guides have been guiding me, leading me towards almost waiting for me to be ready to be able to take the reins and responsibility of being a complete guide. And I know now that's my mission, so that's what I'm going in for. And along with that, I've had the most lovingest partner I've ever come. I never felt so much love in my life. I didn't realize just how much a lack I was in the last relationships, because I'd never experienced how blissful true love could be. It's absolutely incredible, as well as abundance coming in too, and you know, starting a whole fresh new reality with a home. And you know, we've booked a cruise, and I always wanted my children, my two girls who have been through so much. I've got 3 children, but one is over in Sweden. She's a scientist over there. She's got her own child and married over there. The other 2 are a lot younger than her. I had kind of 2 different families, and they've gone through a lot with me. So I wanted to give them a cruise, and that's happening now next year in March. So everything's ching, ching, ching. Like, I always wanted to have my own home. That's happening. Kept on envisioning a turnkey thing where I'm turning the key to my home, and that's now happening. Always wanted, you know, the girls to be on a cruise ship with me and have fun for a holiday, and that's happening. So it's just like everything's falling into place now, and I know 100% that the work that I did with myself, the shadow work that I faced, the energy I started pouring back into me changed everything. I will never go back to that old life again. I will never put up with that old life again. I would never allow someone to manipulate me like that again. And I'll never be the people pleaser. I will be the people's guide, and just come from love, from who I am. That's who I am. So I hope that this helps you guys, and that you get something out of this, so that you can go away and see how you can reflect back on who you are and your life and the patterns in it, because it comes down to the patterns that you see in your own life of who you are and what you've allowed, and then what you've allowed that isn't resonating with the power of who you are. Take that power back. And then you can shift it up to never be afraid to face the fear, the emotions that come up. They are a guide. Your emotions will guide you. So that's why I'm never going to stop. If I cry somewhere in a video, so be it. That's how I felt in that moment, and it's authentic to who I am in that moment. So if that's how I feel, that's how I feel. I'm not going to cut it out, because that's the old program. We have to be able to be vulnerable enough with our reality to explore our emotions and let them guide us into what needs still clearing. And there's still some there to clear, because otherwise I wouldn't have had an emotional reaction. So still to clear that, and then recognize how to move on from that. You know when you've cleared something, because there is no emotional attachment when you say the story. You can tell someone a story and it's just like nothing. It's just like a story. Or you can tell someone a story and all the emotions come up. That's because it's guiding you to what you need to purge, what you need to clear, what you need to bring power back into yourself, support who you are. Yeah. So I hope that this helps you. Love and light to you all. Blessings. Bye.